All right, welcome everybody. This is an impromptu live stream. We just got some news on Silvergate, so I definitely want to go through that. A bunch of other stuff going on, but we got to lead with that. That's breaking news. How's everybody doing? Hello, Steven. Hello, Raul. Ty, Tim, Reese. Welcome, everybody. Brent, hello. Hey, Ray. Yeah, I was in the middle of doing something else altogether, and then actually in our members-only Discord, Jeff mentioned that so long Silvergate. So I just took a quick look, and he's not wrong. Hello, Blue Dope. Brett, hola, always fun in blockchain and crypto. Yeah, the madness continues. I was going through the transcript of Jerome Powell, you know, was getting grilled again today. And, I mean, they were just all over the place. It's that whole situation's a circus, in my opinion. Nathan, howdy, how are ya? So Raul is asking, if SI is stopping, why is there still a bid-ask spread on SI? So I'm going to go through that. I just want to give people a couple of minutes to get here, and then I want to read an article. And I actually didn't even finish reading this article yet, so we'll kind of read it together, and I think I see what's happening here. And I think that this is going to play out. I did not see this coming, but I think everybody is going to be made whole here. I don't think anybody loses, but I don't want to jump the gun. I want to read the article together with you guys first and just see exactly what this means. Ah, Andre, good thing you waited. Just about to put 1K in Silvergate. Oh, huh. The video has stopped. Can you guys still hear me? I'll try and get that fixed. All right, I'll get tech, see if I can get the image fixed. I don't know what. I'm not the tech person that I was 25 years ago. I'm frozen. Yes. All right, give me 20 seconds and I'm going to get tech just so that I can see if this is easily. Oh. Tech is here. Working. We're working the problem. Have you tried turning the machine on and off again? All right. I should be back. Hopefully you guys should be able to see me. Thank you, Tech. Just got off work. What's the news? Listening in the car. All right, so let's go. Let's take a. We can come back to it again for those who come later. Let's just quickly run through this. This is on Market Watch. Silvergate Capital shares tank after company announces plan to wind down bank. So they are winding down the bank. For those of you who are members, you know we did a members-only video on this. And so we kind of did a deep dive on this. I felt like everything was going to work out on this over time. Clearly, that is not what happened. However, I do want to read this because I think all the deposit holders, I think, are going to be okay. But let's read this first. Silvergate Capital shares plunged 30% in after-hours trading Wednesday after the company said it intended to wind down operations and voluntarily liquidate its subsidiary, Silvergate Bank. Okay, so the question becomes Silvergate Capital, stock ticker SI. Silvergate Bank is a subsidiary. Is there anything left to Silvergate after this? We're going to have to try to figure that out. The liquidation plan includes full repayment of all deposits, according to Silvergate. So that's kind of the heart of the matter of what we were going to. For those of you who are members, if you go back and rewatch that video, basically I said this is a bank. I think everybody's deposits are safe here. And for that reason, I thought they would continue on. Now, obviously, they've gotten to the point where whatever's going on is no longer even worth salvaging. Their business model was extremely intertangled with cryptocurrency, and most of their depositors already had bailed out, so their formula may just have gotten to the point where it was just worthless. So, and I'll talk a little bit more about what they do later, but it sounds like, you know, with all their depositors leaving, their basic business formula here, this bank was supposed to be like a cryptocurrency friendly bank, a way to transfer money, you know, instantaneously. There's other things in the works trying to do this. This is, for those of you familiar with XRP, this is the concept behind XRP. So, you know, this bank was doing something on a smaller scale that they were hoping to scale up, but obviously this is going the other way. If you guys can, anybody who has access, if you could smash the like button, it helps the live stream out a lot. I didn't give anybody really any notice on this one, so hopefully if you guys can smash the like button, that will spread the word and let more people join us on the live stream, so I appreciate that. Let's see. The company is considering the best way to resolve claims and preserve the residual value of its assets. Silvergate Capital, all other deposit-related services remain operational. So that's what we have to find out. There's something left here. What's gone, what they're closing, it looks, is their bank. So I'll read the important sentence again. The company said it intends to wind down operations and voluntarily liquidate its subsidiary, Silvergate Bank, a crypto-friendly lender. So that's what they're winding down. The question is, what's left over? And if I just take a quick look here, where did I have that? Hold on. Oh, here we go. Okay, so I'm going to refresh this. So we're down. I mean, it was down 5% on the day, and this has been tanking by big chunks over time. You'll see this was, wow, 52-week range. This was a $162 stock just in the last 52 weeks. And, you know, so now it's after hours, it's down to $3.34. The market cap is down to $150 million. And I don't think that reflects this 30% reduction here. I'm not sure. We'd have to double check. Either way, it's somewhere in the neighborhood now of a $100 million bank. This was a multi-billion dollar. I think this was as much as $8 billion in market cap at one point, if I'm remembering correctly. Yeah, I guess Mara just released. Let's read their press release. They just, I think they had some affiliation. I don't know. They had a loan there. So let's go to Mara real quick and just take a look at what their relationship was, because again, I don't think they're going to lose. I don't think anybody's losing here other than Silvergate shareholders are losing big time. Okay, so this is literally, this was just a few minutes ago, 10 minutes ago. Marathon Digital Holding prepays term loan in whole and terminates credit facilities. So Prepayment reduced debt by 50 million and increases unrestricted Bitcoin holdings by 3,132. I almost feel like that means all of their Bitcoin is now unrestricted. And for those of you who've watched my recent marathon videos, they've been taking this step for some time now. They had gotten to a point where they were on the brink of having all of their Bitcoin restricted by their line of credits and debt. And now it looks like they've gotten a reversal to where it's either almost all unrestricted or this may be all completely unrestricted at this point. So that's a big turnaround for them. I don't know why they got themselves in that situation, but I'll give them credit. They quickly got themselves out of that situation. They just started this line of credit not so long ago, but it looks like they've unwound the whole thing. So let me try and skim this. A leading supporter in security, blah, 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 blah. In early February 2023, Marathon provided Silvergate Bank with the required 30-day notice stating the company's intent to prepay the outstanding balance on its term loan facility, as well as the company's intent to terminate the term loan facility. The company and Silvergate Bank subsequently agreed to also terminate the revolving line of credit. So that's what I think they had, if I'm remembering, and I don't know if these were both with Silverbank. They had $50 million term loan and a $50 million line of credit, I think. And one of them they had already paid off in full. The other one they were paying off. Let's see. Yeah, their line of credit facility, which had no borrowings outstanding on the date of the termination. On March 8th, today, the term loan prepayment was completed, and the company's facilities with Silvergate Bank were terminated. As a result, Marathon has reduced its debt by $50 million and has increased its unrestricted Bitcoin holdings by 3,132 Bitcoin, as the Bitcoin that was being held as collateral by a third-party custodian were returned to the company. So I'm not sure why they're not saying this in here, but I'm fairly certain that now means they no longer have any restricted Bitcoin. Let's see. Our industry has significantly changed since we put these facilities in place last summer, and we have adopted our financial strategy accordingly. Said Hugh Gallagher, Marathon's chief financial officer. We have been actively building a more robust balance sheet that features increased levels of cash and unrestricted Bitcoin holdings. So if you guys watched, I think I just did a Marathon video like yesterday or the day before, and I really focused on this. They have shaped up their balance sheet in a big, big way. So when they released their February operational report a few days ago, they touched on some of these things, and this company's balance sheet is a lot stronger today than it was 90 days ago. It's a pretty dramatic difference. Anybody, if you could smash the like button, I would appreciate it. We have 22 likes. I did not give anybody notice that I was doing this live stream, so smashing the like button helps spread the word so we can get more viewers with us. Okay, let's keep going. Let's see, the company's... Given our current cash position, we determined that it was in the company's best interest to prepay our term loan and eliminate both the term loan and the revolving line of credit facilities. As a result, we have reduced our leverage by approximately $50 million, immediately freed up approximately $75 million in Bitcoin. That's the other thing about these Bitcoin secured loans that I'm not sure everybody realizes. These are all, the terms of these are not good. So, in other words, if you have a $50 million loan and it's secured by your Bitcoin, for the most part throughout the industry, there's been a pretty heavy premium where you've had to over-secure the loan because, of course, Bitcoin is volatile. So if Bitcoin goes down, these banks don't want to get burned. So, they were having like 136% or 150% required in custody to secure the loan. So... they just freed up here in this instance, they just said they freed up $75 million in Bitcoin by paying off a $50 million loan. Bitcoin was being held as collateral for the term loan and reduced our annual cash interest costs and facility fees by approximately $5 million. So obviously that's the flip side of the equation here, is that they're now saving money. Less less borrowings, less interest, and that was my biggest frustration with Marathon. We're getting a little sidetracked with Marathon's relationship, but they had a pretty big relationship here with SI, and obviously now effective today, effective immediately, that relationship is over, as is Silvergate Bank. So Marathon they borrowed about $700 million, and it was convertible debt. They still have it. So and it was at 1% interest. It's not due until like 2026. So for the longest time, I looked at them and said, man, they have like some of the best debt out there. It was almost, for all intents and purposes, unless the company failed, it wasn't even really debt. It was convertible debt that is in all likelihood going to get converted to equity. So they were paying 1% interest, which is minimal. And then they went out and did this $100 million borrowing. So the borrowing on this $100 million was the fees associated were much, much more than the fees associated with the $700 million that they already had borrowed. So that was frustrating to me. But like I said, they very quickly undid this. I think it may have been 6 or 7 months from start to finish from the time they took this out until officially effective today. It's now paid in full and terminated. So for me, I think that's very good news for Marathon. That's the last step of getting rid of that thing that, they probably should have never done. They may have just wanted to grab the money, at a time where Bitcoin was, hitting new low after new low. They may have felt desperate to get their hands on some money, but at this point, we're in a little bit of a different situation. So I do think it makes sense for this to just be gone. Sanity's Eclipse is saying Mara still has about $170 million in cash on the balance sheet. Mara has virtually zero short-term debt now, just the 1% interest on the senior notes due in 4 years. So that's right. So this shapes them up. They have, not only do they have the $170 million in cash, but they have 10 or 11,000 Bitcoin on their balance sheet as well. Now, they did start selling Bitcoin in the year 2023. So up until January of 2023, Marathon had never sold a Bitcoin. And they sold 1,500 last month. They sold most of what they produced in February as well. But they're not really, other than the 1,500 initial, they're not really digging into their stack. It seems like in February they sold just about what they bought. So, between $170 million in cash and a couple $100 million in Bitcoin, this company is flush. Let's see. Raul said SI had $630 million in net equity, net book value, 40 million shares for year end, meaning $15 a share book value. So that's 15 a share book value, and obviously at the moment they're trading much lower than that. And I guess I may do a deep dive video and see what is left in SI. Let's go back to because again, the stock that we trade is Silvergate Capital Corp, stock ticker SI. They have a wholly owned subsidiary that is Silvergate Bank. And really, that's what most of us all associate as Silvergate. I'm not sure what they have in Silvergate Capital Corp in the way of assets that are past that. So, hopefully they let us know here's what's left, because that was their claim to fame, and that was the business activity that was ramping up. And it was all moving in the right direction, and then everything all, starting with FTX, this started to unravel. Their crypto partners lost confidence. There was a run on the bank. Because remember, this is an actual bank, so this isn't even kind of using the term run on the bank. This was a literal run on the bank. The depositors all came and took their money back. So, if you're, as a bank, if you're depositors, I think it was like 86% or something like that of their depositors had withdrawn their money. So, there's nothing left. So Space Oddity is saying SI is going bankrupt. So that may be so. It may be that with the winding down of Silvergate Bank, Silvergate Capital may have nothing left for shareholders. I don't know. I mean, we talked about this a bunch with the members, but we really totally focused on Silvergate Bank. And to my knowledge, that seemed like it was what their assets were. But I don't want to say that definitively. Maybe there's something else out there past this. Jackie said Kathy Wood finally got one right with SI. Yeah, I mean, because they're a bank, so they're a bank, the liquidation plan includes, for those of you who joined us late, I mean, the key to this is, I'm just going to read this real quick again. Pardon those of you who've already heard it. Silvergate Capital shares plunged 30% in after-hours trading Wednesday after the company said it intended to wind down operations and voluntarily liquidate its subsidiary Silvergate Bank, a crypto-friendly lender. The liquidation plans include full repayment of all deposits, according to Silvergate. So, it's a bank. Everybody's getting all their money back. Who's getting burned here are shareholders. So, this is kind of good news, bad news. I mean, it's awful news if you're a shareholder of SI. But this was a big part, you know, they were linked to the crypto universe. So, you know, obviously on this channel, we talk about that. Hello, Jeff. Welcome to the live stream. You actually are the one who put a notice in the members only Discord that put me onto this. So, what was I saying before I interrupted myself? Check the SEC filings for the 13G on AWIN. Or I'll get into that in a minute. So, this is very, very, what we were talking about is this is extremely crypto adjacent. The vast majority of their depositors were cryptocurrency, institutional cryptocurrency, you know, like such as we saw Marathon was involved in this, but a lot of crypto exchanges had their money here or some money here. So as they lost all those deposits, when they're saying this liquidation plan includes full repayment of all deposits, you know, in the past when some of these things have happened, and this has been top of the page headline news for a while now. This is a massive, massive topic of conversation, but the truth is, it looks to me like the fallout of this for the crypto universe is going to be nothing. So I don't think there's any bump in the road here because, first of all, almost everybody had already taken their deposits back. Now, secondly, it looks like whoever remains will be repaid in full all of the deposits that they have. So I think the crypto world, this is not another FTX. This is not another, blanking on everything, but we've had our fill of, you know, crises, and it looks to me like, and this one was shaping up. Everybody was looking at this like, oh, is there systemic risk here? Is this gonna, you know, is this gonna flow to throughout the crypto world? I'm just gonna go to Bitcoin for a minute. That's the kind of my gauge. So Bitcoin's at 21,983. So that's where it's been. It's been plus or minus $100 at 22,000 all day today. So, you know, to me, it looks like there was no shock at all when this news was announced. Really nothing happened to Bitcoin. Let's check the crypto universe. Yeah, I mean, in the last hour, down 0.3, 0.4, 0.9, 1.1. There's nothing earth-shattering has come of this so far. And this news is, I mean, this is hot off the presses. This was at, looks like 4:54 p.m. today. So after the market closed, all of this broke. Jeff is saying super healthy Bitcoin price action, all things considered. Space Oddity says, yes, I agree. I mean, this is, and 22,000 for those of you who are, if you're new to the channel, welcome. If you're not, then that's a line that I've been talking about, that I really feel like we need to hang around that $22,000 line. And at around, if we go below 21.5, I do think that signals a reversal in the trend. So at the moment, for this to happen, and it looks like this is not going to be a systemic problem, and it looks like Bitcoin, if it was going to have a reaction, you guys know how fast cryptocurrency has. Like when Jerome Powell speaks, within 30 seconds, we get wild movements in Bitcoin. So this is on the 15-minute time frame, and these are tiny candles. So not very much action at all since this has been announced. Space Oddity is saying GBTC could well become a spot ETF. So thank you for bringing that up. That is another giant thing. Some stuff is going on. I started out by saying there's some stuff to talk about, and thank you. That is one of them. Apparently, they had a very, very, very good day in court the other day. Yesterday, I believe. And their argument was compelling, which makes common sense to me. Right? It's very difficult to argue that you can have the fact that there's a futures ETF really makes it almost I can't even fathom what the argument is, that if a derivative of Bitcoin can have an ETF, that they could say, well, Bitcoin's not stable enough to have an ETF. It's too dangerous. But you have an ETF on a derivative product of it. So I think they're going to have an unbelievably difficult, if not impossible, time proving that point. I think the SEC is going to lose that. They just lost the, I think Binance USA is going to buy, is it Voyager? They're going to buy all the Voyager assets. So that case, I think, was yesterday as well. And so that's going to go through, and everybody had written that off as if, that was dead. So I don't know. We might be starting to get some movement, and a Bitcoin spot ETF. If GBTC turns into a spot ETF, I believe that is one of the biggest things. That's one of the biggest catalysts Bitcoin could have. That's a game changer in my mind. There is still a lot of arbitrage left on GBTC. I'm going to go to that right now. I think I have that up somewhere. So we're down. So there's a 35.7% discount right now. So essentially, effectively, that means if you go buy some of this stock, ticker GBTC, and that's the Grayscale Bitcoin Trust. So they hold Bitcoin in trust. So the amount that this fund is worth is a 35.7% discount to the value of the Bitcoin that they hold. Now, for the time being, the risk is, there's a lot of risk built into this, so there's a huge discount. But that jumped after yesterday's day in court. This was at 42%. It was at 47% discount not too long ago, 49 about a month ago. So, it's making up the gap, but there's still a lot of money left here. So, this is one of the ways to play Bitcoin is to... And who knows when this ends. So, they had a good day in court. That's good. That doesn't mean it's over and they win and this is going to be an ETF right away. But if this does turn into an ETF, I mean, in all likelihood, I can't see any reason. I would think that 35.7% would go to something very close to zero. So, that whenever that happens, everybody's going to make that money. The Bitcoin's in trust, so, it's being held there. So to me, that's a potential double whammy, because you're going to get that 35% arbitrage essentially. And in addition to that, you would think that if that happens, I mean, that's been one of the things we've been talking about for the last year and a half on the channel, that if and when they can ever get an ETF up and running, that should be a huge catalyst for Bitcoin, in my opinion. So, that would be two birds with one stone. I don't hold this, just so you know. I'm so much into the Bitcoin miners that I have not done this. I thought really hard about this when it was up in the mid to high 40% discounts, but I just didn't want to put, I'm so out of balance already into the cryptocurrency world. I did not do this, but so, and obviously this is not financial advice. You guys do whatever you want, but somebody stands to make potentially some very easy money on this if they can win that case and become a spot ETF. So thank you, Space Oddity, for reminding me of that. So Jeff is saying, what would happen to existing GBTC holders upon conversion? I mean, this would evaporate. As you can see, it's just basically this trades like a stock, and this premium would go to, I won't say zero, but I don't see why it wouldn't be very close to zero. So I think that's kind of a seamless transition. It would just be, the market cap of this would just go up immediately. And the market cap of this is, so give or take, because there are some minor discrepancies here with Yahoo Finance market caps. This is about $2.3 billion right now. So, you know, you would think that this should immediately go up to, you know, increase 35%. Space Oddity, Grayscale has 3% of the entire Bitcoin supply. They are the natural choice for a spot ETF. Yeah, I think they have like 650,000 or something like that Bitcoin in this trust. I mean, they're monsters. You know, we know that MicroStrategy, as far as publicly traded companies go, is the monster in this space. But Grayscale even has multiples more Bitcoin than they do. Let's see, Brent is saying, Jeff, I think it's the same holders, but the ETF would buy and sell with the money flow to their ETF. Yes. So that's exactly right. So do you think they do some form of a split? I don't know the answer to that. And then Brent is saying, remember, there was something like 10 other Bitcoin ETF applications in the US, some of which were from very large firms that have a lot of ETFs. So that's right. If this happens, it's likely that, you know, there'll be a domino effect and there will be more Bitcoin ETFs. I don't know how many we need. I don't know how many, you know, that there's room for, but I do think this invites the 90+% of investors who are not even in cryptocurrency and would never go buy a Bitcoin may very well say, you know what, I want 5% or 2% of my holdings to be, you know, in a Bitcoin ETF, because that you can do right through your broker. It's safe, it's easy, and there's a lot of people, I know, you know, most of you guys listening probably are a lot more sophisticated with all of this stuff and know a lot more about cryptocurrency. But remember, the vast majority of the population still knows nothing about any of this, and it's all a great big mystery. So, you know, if it was presented to them in a package that they were familiar with and they understood, I think adoption would grow immediately. And also all of the institutions, I think, would probably just to hedge their risk, put some amount of money into an ETF. So, you know, I think this would grow drastically. And the timeline on the court case, I don't know. And that's the other thing. These court cases just go on. Sometimes they go on and on and on. So I don't know what the answer to that is. So that's why I'm saying, you know, there's 35% to be had potentially if they win this case. But for a time frame standpoint, anybody's guess. Let's see. Somebody said Bitcoin's going down now. 21,938 on my chart. So, I mean, we're still, that's getting close to the lows on the day. But it still seems to be trading. I mean, we're still within $100 at 22,000. So for me, for those of you familiar with the channel, this blue line is my line. If we cross this line, in my opinion, we will have had a reversal in the trend. And I'm just going to go to my 1 day. So I still think we're in, although obviously we're having a pullback here that's lasted a couple of weeks, I still think we're in this bullish trend upward. But if we cross past this line, basically that's going to be lower than our previous low. That is a big signal that we potentially have reversed course. So I'm hoping we hold. 22,000 was the last line. I was really hoping that we could hold right here, and we're, you know, now we're $70 underneath it. So we're right in that neighborhood, but it would be nice to hold that line. And if this is the entirety of the fallout of the Silvergate situation, then again, I feel like we got to count that as a win. All right, let me just catch up. George is not here. I invited him, but this was impromptu last second, so he does have an open invitation, but I know he was in the middle of doing some other work, so George is not here right now. Nash V said, I read the end of summer yesterday concerning the GBTC decision. So end of the summer, it sounds like, is what they're saying right now. So that's still quite a ways off. I mean, on the cryptocurrency clock, that's a long time from now. A lot happens in that period of time. But, you know, even if that's 5-6 months from now, anything in 2023 would be just fantastic. If somehow they could find a way. I really thought, and this is how long they have been denying these ETFs, I thought by the end of 2022. And I thought I was giving a lot of extra room. I mean, I said that 2 years ago that, you know, they can't stretch it out any longer than, you know, the end of 2022. And sure enough, I mean, here we are in March of 2023 and no ETF yet. And who knows when or if. So they can stretch these, and you know, at the same time, the XRP situation sits out there. I mean, that's the eternal situation. It's like they've got to come to a resolution on that one way or the other. This is not timely justice, if you will. We need I don't hold any XRP, but, you know, there's investors in that, and this is, you know, for them to get sidelined for years, which is what's happening right now on this decision. Make a decision. No decision is worse than whatever they're going to decide. That is my feeling, right? I mean, they're not going to ban XRP or outlaw it. There could be fees involved. It might fall under you know, the control of the SEC, which means there's going to be, you know, requirements, information, and all that kind of stuff. But I don't see why it would cease to exist even if they lose this case. So, but for as long as it's an uncertainty, it's keeping XRP down in a big, big way. Having said that, if you look, I mean, the cryptocurrency world has shaped up that even with that hanging over its head, XRP is number 6 on this list, and 2 of them that are ahead are stable coins. So it's really the 4th largest true crypto even right now. Now, obviously, it's tiny compared to, you've got 2 monsters. You've got Bitcoin is still really, technically speaking, they refer to Bitcoin and altcoins. So even Ethereum is technically an altcoin, but obviously that is a massive player in the game. That's a $186 billion market cap. And then Tether's a stable coin. Then you got BNB at $45 billion. And then you got another stable coin. And then you got XRP at $20 billion. And then it drops almost in half from there down to Cardano. And Polygon is down 11% in the last 7 days. That had taken a big, big run up. So a little bit of a pullback for those of you who feel like you might have missed the run. Maybe there's an entry point in there somewhere. Oh, here we go. There we go. Now we got some downward pressure. I'm going to stay on the 15-minute here so we don't miss this. We got down to $21,666.67. This is Coinbase. This is TradingView, but this is the Coinbase number. So these numbers do vary a little bit depending on what chart you're looking at. But clearly, we've broken under 22 for the moment. We're in the middle of one 15-minute candle. It would be nice to see a quick turnaround, but we'll see. This could be it. This could be the turnaround right here. I do think, and I'm not changing my mind. I still do think we're going to go back and retest 25,200. But I will say, if we break under 21,500, that's not a good sign. That would be a strong indicator that I am incorrect. Alex said, Hut 8 moved 7,000 miners from North Bay, Validus Power. The lawsuit is getting messy. Hut 8 losing Bitcoin production last few months while others are growing. Trouble looming, ? So, yeah, there's a lot of information. I use the term lightly, information swirling around about Hut 8. So what Alex said is true, and they disclosed that in their monthly operational update. They took their miners. They had, I think, 0.68 exahash, or roughly 7,000 miners in North Bay. They have taken them out. So any hope that this is going to get resolved and they're going to get back to business as usual, that is now off the table, clearly. So they have yet to put those machines somewhere else and get them up and running. They're saying they're deciding what they want to do and what their approach is going to be to get those back up and operating. And that's significant to them because they're at 2.5 exahash right now. So, that's close to 0.7 exahash more. That is significant for them. They've obviously also got the pending potential merger of equals that's hanging out there. But I will say I did hear a lot of other information about this court case, but I looked and I looked and I looked. So if anybody has any actual information, I scoured the internet for 2 hours today to find out any details, and I do not see one single valid thing out there. And I'm not talking about, somebody who said something on StockTwits or Reddit. Nothing traces back to a source of any actual information of what's going on in this court case. To me, the only thing that we have is the update that Hut just gave us. That might have been yesterday or the day before. So feel free, please give me a link if there's real information. That's the one thing I would ask of everybody as you leave comments in the comment section or the chat. And a lot of times I know, everybody hears things and you don't necessarily have a source at the ready for it. But if possible, try to remember what the source is, because, we're all out there getting information and I am looking all day long, but I don't find everything. So, if somebody, like, for instance, this live stream right here, one of our members, Jeff, found this Silvergate situation before I did. So, and he right away put something on there. So that helps. That helps me get, and then we can all share. Steven said that's George selling his stack right there. Yeah. That would be a George maneuver. Gorilla, I'm hoping for one big dip. My tax return came in. I want to buy. Yeah, this is where it gets this is where if you're doing anything other than dollar cost averaging, and I'm not saying that's the only way to do this. There's a million ways to invest. But if you're doing anything other than dollar cost averaging, these decisions get very difficult to make. Where's the bottom? Is this a short dip that's an opportunity, or is this, you know, a signal that the next leg is down, so I'm going to wait. And then how long are you going to wait? Are you going to wait until it gets to 21.5? Are you going to wait until it gets to 18? Are you going to wait and see if we retest 15,500? So that is the tough part. As you guys all well know, that's the tough part of investing. So I imagine everybody has their own strategy. It's very hard to even stick to your own plan. We all know that from experience. The best of intentions, sometimes, you know, FOMO is real and panic is real. So I try not to fall victim to either of that. With my Bitcoin mining positions, I will tell you guys, unless there's some fundamental thing that changes, I will go down with the ship. And I don't think the ship's going down. I'm very bullish on Bitcoin in the long term. That's my personal opinion. So these short-term fluctuations, I try not to react too much to, you know, and when we get larger moves, buying opportunities, I have been dollar cost averaging in big time over the last year. Having said that, that means I'm down in the vast majority of my Bitcoin mining positions. I'm not sure if any of them are back up to even. We did have a very nice run in the first 5 or 6 weeks of 2023, and that helped some of them get pretty close, but I don't believe I have a single position that I'm right side up in out of the Bitcoin miners. And we're floating around 21,760 right now, so, you know, we're getting dangerously close to moving away from 22,000 in the wrong direction. Austin's asking, are you going to do a February breakdown of miners soon? Yes, very soon. I was just starting to compile that when all of this happened. Everybody who matters has already reported. This is the fastest monthly reports we've gotten ever in the history of Bitcoin mining. So I believe all of the top 10 active miners have all put out their February operational update. So, you know, that could be tomorrow's video, going through and slicing and dicing and comparing, you know, what happened in February. February, of course, is the shortest month of the year. The difficulty rate was way up in addition to that. So it was no records. There were no records broken in February. But I do think there were a bunch of things trending in the right direction. And it's always good to do the comparison. There's a million different ways to look at these Bitcoin miners. So obviously that's just one way. Well, actually it's 5 or 6 ways. We compare the month to date, year to date, efficiency level, hodl positions. So we go through all of that. So expect over the next couple of days for me to get that out for February. So I do think a lot of people, I don't know about you guys who are here right now, but a lot of people have gotten very, very discouraged. I've noticed a gigantic shift, I would say, in the last maybe 4 or 5 trading days of people reaching the end of their rope. So I feel like a lot of people have bailed out, believe it or not. I think a lot of people are selling, leaving this space. I don't know if they're leaving the entire market altogether, but I think between cryptocurrency, Bitcoin, the Bitcoin miners, people have been at a new level of frustration. Maybe the worst I've ever seen since I've been doing this. So, by the way, today, apparently, YouTube notified me that today is my 2-year anniversary on this channel. So, 2 years as of today. I have not counted, but I think we have about 1,000 videos. So you can trace it all the way back to the beginning if you're interested, but I wouldn't if I were you, because I still don't know what I'm doing, never mind when I started. So I'm still upside down on Riot, Reese, and it's not close, but I think I'm somewhere in the $7 range. So I guess it's closer than I think. I think it went under $6 today, if I remember correctly. Let's take a look. Oh, oh, that's right. We did have a turnaround today. It ended at $6.30, and I think I'm still about $1.50 underwater on this. So that's not bad because this is a position I've held. I will say I started averaging into this later because this is one of the only changes I've made. I did move out of Marathon at one point last year and move into Riot. So I started this position much later than I started my other positions. You know, some of my other big ones are Cleanspark and Bitfarms. And I switched my Marathon for Riot. And it hasn't been a big difference, really. Had I not done that, I'd be in a very, very similar place, I think. But I did take my losses on so it's almost not fair to say I'm break even on this because the only reason that is, and I'm still not there yet, is because I started averaging in after I lost a bunch on Marathon. And I think I was pretty close to break even all in on Marathon because I did start. Marathon's the first Bitcoin mining stock I ever bought. So I did get that first giant run up. So I made some money on that. And then it kind of went the other way on me and I lost a bunch. So this is George. I'm just going to let him know we're on the stream. George, you're live on the live stream. I did. I called you and I sent you an invite, but I knew you were busy, so you're welcome. Oh, oh, that's right. Yep. Put in the front door. Is it done? 5 people that called me. Yeah, pretty much. The 5 people that called me, I called you first. Oh, well, thank you. Thanks for the return phone call. I'm not sure if they can hear you on the live stream or not, but I'm talking to George. He just installed a door. This is things he does in his spare time. So. I'll let you go, guys. All right, I'll talk to you later, George. Brent is saying, no, actually, who was it? Person whose name I cannot read. Will you get back into Marathon? I have not yet gotten back into Marathon, but I am very seriously considering getting back in, and I'm not considering getting out of Riot. I like my position in Riot, but I do think Marathon right now is looking better and better to me every month. There's a lot of people that are very angry at me in this world regarding Marathon. They think that I hate Marathon, and I just feel like they're not necessarily watching my videos. Maybe they're reading the thumbnails, or maybe they're just hearing. I have been critical of them, you know, and when it's time to be critical, if, you know, they missed their estimates, they missed their plan by 95%. So, yeah, I mentioned that all along, but I have also mentioned, you know, like we talked about, they have fantastic, you know, convertible debt. They have a very strong balance sheet. They have an awful lot of machines. Their partners, you know, they chose a different business model, and a lot of their partners didn't get where they were supposed to be when they were supposed to be there. So they're lagging way behind in their plan, but I feel like they're just turning the corner right now, and their stock is still not, you know, I'm going to go there right now. I mean, Marathon's at $6.18. This is at a $700 million market cap. This was a $7.5 billion market cap company in November of 2021. So this is still down 90% off of its highs. So I do feel like, in my opinion, I feel like this is a buy. I've just been very slow to start adding positions. I already have enough positions, but this probably would be the next position I would add if I'm to add a position. If there's a big pullback, I might jump into Marathon next. And I feel like Riot and Marathon trade in tandem. And right now, Riot is actually, if I go back, they're a couple $100 million ahead of them in market cap, and that has not been the. There have been times where Marathon was a couple $100 million ahead of Riot. So I think that will flip-flop in the future, if Marathon keeps doing what they're supposed to be doing. Mara has the most unrestricted Bitcoin as of now. Yes, that is true. So now they have the biggest stack, and now their entire stack is unrestricted. it's not all self-mined, but really at this point, does that really matter? Jeff is saying, Darren, the January 25 leaps in all the miners are gold. All capital letters, gold. I'm just reading the comments. You guys are welcome to read them. So just so you guys know, I am not a trader. I'm not a day trader. I do a little bit of swing trading with some options. And you know, for those of you who follow the channel, I am a buy and hold. So, you know, there's some days are better than others, some weeks, months, and some years. 2022 was a brutal year if you were buy and hold. So I averaged in. I didn't do much shifting around. A couple of things I did have to abandon ship on, but for the most part, all I've been doing for the last 15, 16 months is holding and dollar cost averaging in, and I may have to do that again for another 15 or 16 months for all I know. That will be, you know, we'll be past the halving by then, and I believe we're going to have a jump before then, but I don't know. I mean, we don't know. Nobody knows. Somebody the other day left a comment and said, oh, you're just guessing. And it's like, well, actually, technically, we're all just guessing. It may be a very educated guess. Some of them may be uneducated guesses. But since none of us actually know the future and none of us know where any of these stocks are going, none of us know where Bitcoin is going, we can't know that definitively. So technically, yes, we are all doing our best to take our most educated guess that we can as to what we think is going to happen. Which everybody knows. That's true of all the, not only all the YouTubers, that's true of everybody. So, you know, sometimes you're right, sometimes you're not right. And it matters on your time frame, which is, and I try to stress that so much. And I mean, I have done, I think, over 1,000 videos. And you'll see, I stress it in every one. People are probably sick of hearing it. You need to know your own risk tolerance, and you need to know your own time frame. Like if you're taking your paycheck and putting it in, you know, that may be money maybe you can't afford to spend. So, you know, your time frame and your level of desperation are very different than somebody who's putting money away for the next 15 or 20 years for retirement. And some of you may be putting it away for the next 20 or 30 or 40 years, you know, depending on whatever your age is. Even with all that said, sometimes it's hard to hold on to a stock that's in a free fall. I've chosen to hold on to my stocks and dollar cost average in. I think that's going to pay off in the end because I think that the Bitcoin miners that end up getting where they're going are going to be many, many multiples higher. I do think there's 10x's, 20x's, 30x's. A few of these will probably do more than that. And just so that everybody knows, and obviously, again, I don't know that, but I will tell you, this is a space. Both Marathon and Riot did a 40 or 50x in 2021. So it's not like that's like a pipe dream or a fantasy that, you know, wow, maybe somehow that could happen. It already happened, right? Those were the only two. Well, actually, Bit Digital was publicly traded, but a very, very different situation. Those were the only two U.S.-based publicly traded stocks on the NASDAQ in the Bitcoin mining space, and they both 40 or 50x in a year. So that's what can happen on a Bitcoin bull run. Remember, these are leveraged plays. So you're going to get the leverage to the good side, but you're also going to get the leverage to the bad side, which we just went through, you know, 15 months of. And we'll see. Let's go back to the Bitcoin chart, see what we're missing. So it looks like we're starting to possibly make a move down. So we'll have to wait and see. Cleanspark Well said Tom Romano. I assume that's a Ray Romano reference. I get that a lot for some reason. Let's see. Bought Riot at $10 in August, hoping for 8+ before August. Just trying to catch up on some of these comments. Austin, most of Cypher's power, it's under power purchase agreement, so the cost is known. Jeff is saying the miners are all going to 1,000 a share, easy. So that could be true, Jeff. I mean, that's for a lot of those, that's close to 1,000x. But some of these market caps are now nano market cap stocks. $15 million, $20 million. For a $20 million stock to 100x is not out of the question. It has happened many, many, many times in the history of the stock market, right? If they succeed at what they're doing, it's likely that will happen. That is contingent on the Bitcoin mining company being successful what they're doing, and also Bitcoin going to some of the numbers that, people like, not even necessarily Cathie Woods, was talking about. Jeff, I know you're kidding, but, if this thing, Cathie Woods is talking about Bitcoin going to $1.5 million of Bitcoin. What do you think these things would trade at that point in time? I mean, it just depends on your time frame for how long you want to hold them. So obviously, I'm not holding any of these counting on 1,000x or even 100x, but 10x's all day long, in my opinion, if you're willing to wait for it. But it's hard, and most people don't wait for it, and they bail out. Unfortunately, most people tend to buy high, sell low. That is just the nature of the retail investor. And it's not a coincidence, right? They push these stocks around and cryptocurrencies around so that, it reaches a level of panic or capitulation. And that's when all the retail buyers leave. And that's when all the institutional buyers come in. And, it's not a coincidence. This is what they do. So it's not easy. Let's see. Justin's asking, is CleanSpark still the most undervalued miner at the moment, in your opinion? So I do. For me, I think CleanSpark, and this is a tough call. It's not like there's no contest, but I think CleanSpark is almost strangely undervalued at this point. So I will say, I did a video. I talked about that. You guys can watch that video. More importantly, you can read the comments. People were losing their mind in the comments section of that particular video. So a lot of people are pretty passionate about CleanSpark one way and the other. There's an awful lot of people that absolutely despise CleanSpark and despise their management. I'm not in that group. I like what they're doing. I think it all makes sense. I know that these move on different time frames, and again, it's a super small market cap stock, so it's easy to push around. But ultimately, stocks will cross path with their fair market value. The question is, can you hold on to them long enough for that to happen? So I believe that will happen with CleanSpark. I believe they're way undervalued. They're at $2.38 right now. They're under $200 million in market cap. I'm going to go just look at that right now. And let's see. Yeah, they're a $185 million market cap company. So if they get back to where they were a year ago, that's a 10x. By the way, if they get back to where they were 2 years ago, this stock traded at $40 in January of 2021. Now, I'll be the first person to say it should not have been at $40. It was grossly overvalued at that time. But it was at $40. So, this is what I'm saying. Stocks will cross paths with their fair market value, but sometimes they will cross paths on the way to going to double or triple or quadruple their fair market value, right? It's a very short window of time where a stock is actually trading at its fair value, however you want to define that. And depending on, the mood of the market, this risk off move was historic. I think this was the most risk off period in the history of the stock market. This was not the worst downturn we've ever had, although 2022 was one of the worst years we've ever had. I think it was the 7th worst year. But just strictly from a risk on, risk off, I think this was the most risk off environment I've ever seen. The list of stocks that were down greater than 90% was in the thousands, if not tens of thousands, which I don't think we've seen that. Having said that, the overall market, the NASDAQ was down the worst, and it wasn't even down 40%. I think it got down 38% at the bottom, and the other indexes did not even as bad as that. So overall, this was not the worst market we've had, but for these small cap, high growth stocks, for the pre-revenue stocks, the pre-profit stocks, some of those things had spiraled to a place that was kind of insane. So, some of that was due to happen, and, the pendulum swings, and I think it, went from one extreme to the other. So I think we're starting to swing back in the other direction, but we'll see. Barry's saying altcoins will 10x in a year. And we've seen that with many coins. So if you think these stocks are volatile, you get in the right altcoin, you can do a lot more than 10x. By the way, if you got into Bitcoin, you've done a lot more than 10x, right? I mean, what's Bitcoin up since it started? It's astronomical. Darren saying, I totally stole CleanSpark calls for CleanSpark this morning, 30 minutes after opening, 2025 strike, $10 for 88 cents. 2025. Yeah, I mean, so to me, those are going to be in high demand, because you're now maybe 7 or 8 months after the next halving. So, in my opinion, either Bitcoin is gotten to where it's going, or it's never going to get there, because we will then have been through another halving. In addition to that, the network has doubled in the last year. So effectively, the difficulty level has doubled. And so that in itself is like an extra halving, and it's going to continue to grow. So, if Bitcoin doesn't make its run between now and, January of 2025, then I think these Bitcoin miners will probably, for the most part, they will be gone. Or they will be vastly, vastly pared down. But I don't think that's going to be the case. Obviously, I'm bullish on Bitcoin. I do think that even before the halving, I think we're going to finish the year 2023 higher, and then I think 2024 we should have a big push to the upside. If history is any indication, which sometimes it is, sometimes it isn't. But let's put it this way: with all the gigantic runs that Bitcoin has had in the past, it's never had the adoption level that it's had right now, and that continues to grow. And there are a series of positive catalysts sitting out there that, at some point, sooner or later, and it does seem like they're trying to make them later, but at some point these things are going to happen. Regulations are coming. That sounds like a bad thing, but the reality is the looming unknown regulations is crushing cryptocurrency right now. So whatever the regulations are, whatever form they come in, is going to be a huge positive catalyst for the cryptocurrency world, in my opinion. So there's a lot of those coming. The vast majority of investors still don't even know what cryptocurrency is, never mind investing in them. So most of the money is still on the sidelines. By the same token, we've had more adoption by far over the past few years than in the history of Bitcoin. So I think that trend will continue. Kudab, which is George, asked, is that Matt from CleanSpark? Do we have a Matt, or are you talking about CleanSpark Whale, George? CleanSpark Whale is saying it was not. Okay, so I'll just catch up. I was talking about how I thought CleanSpark was overvalued at that time, and CleanSpark Whale is saying it was not overvalued at that time. What was CleanSpark's market cap? Their market cap was over $1 billion, and they were pre-revenue. So that, to me, those were the types of scenarios that... So obviously everybody has a different opinion. CleanSpark Whale feels like that was justified. They were just a microgrid company at that time, and that's right. So in January of 2021, they had just bought their first Bitcoin mining operation. It was tiny. They had only ever mined a few Bitcoin in their history, and according to them, at the time that they did it, their intention was not to become a Bitcoin miner. It was to use their microgrid technology. It was going to be a proof, a proof of work that their technology works. And that's the only reason they even got into Bitcoin mining, if you follow along according to what they say. So this was a microgrid company, but the microgrid revenue was like $10 million on $1 billion market cap. So I feel like that was overheated in my opinion. The microgrid thing, they ended up getting really almost nothing for. And they're now strictly a pure play Bitcoin mining company. CleanSpark Whale saying everything was overvalued at that time in tech and growth, and CleanSpark was accordingly. Yeah, it was no more overvalued than everything else. I absolutely agree with that. There was a bubble in December of 2020, January of 2021, February of 2021. There were some things that was the risk on was at maybe an all-time high. So I agree with that. It was no more overvalued than everything else at the time, but I'm just saying I don't think we need to compare it and say it's going to go back to 40. It doesn't have to go back to 40. CleanSpark Whale saying now they are even better company times 100x than when they were at $40. I agree. I mean, they are a much stronger company. I think they have a solid business model. I know there's this narrative out there that management is just in it for themselves and they don't care about the investor, and I'll let other people make that argument. I disagree with that. That's just my opinion. I think they have a good plan. I think they're executing a good plan. So yeah, I mean, that's one of my biggest positions. So I'm on the same page as you, CleanSpark Whale, I think. One Hot Meal, welcome back. He says, good time to buy. What's my average stock price on CleanSpark? I would have to look that up. And sometimes I got a spreadsheet I got to do because I have different accounts. But I know this. I'm upside down on CleanSpark. I've been buying CleanSpark for a long time. George did just buy in at $3.05. So he just added that. So he's pretty close. I know George is feeling like he's far away, and he bought in pretty heavy. But I feel like we'll be back over $3 in no time, in my opinion. Brett said, agreed. I like CleanSpark. One Hot Meal's in a two. So if you're in a 265, you're in great shape. I mean, I don't know if you just got in or if you averaged your way down to that, but that's fantastic. Nathan's saying 6,000 shares at $2.71. I mean, you guys are in great shape on that one, in my opinion, because I'll go back to what, CleanSpark Whale was saying. They've got a lot of upside ahead, in my opinion. Tim is saying, didn't management approve additional compensation today in the preferred shareholder vote along with 300 million share cap? I don't know the answer to that, so that is news I have to go look up. So I will see if they've approved additional compensation, but I will tell you the vast majority of the compensation that management gets at CleanSpark is stock, so it's non-cash compensation. And it is directly tied to certain certain goals and tasks. So some people are saying, well, they're just, they're getting to those, they're reaching those goals at any cost, even if it's bad for the shareholder. But I mean, they've grown faster than anybody else by far in the space. It's not even close over the last year. And yet their balance sheet is still in a good place. They've taken on almost no debt at all through doing that. Yes, they have diluted their shares, but they still remain on the lower end of the number of shares in the Bitcoin mining space. So, what? Time is going to be the answer to that. This is something that people feel very passionately about on both sides, and I doubt very much that one side is going to convince the other that they're right or wrong, but time will tell. And so we're just going to have to wait it out. But I have a high level of conviction in CleanSpark. Let's see. CleanSpark calls for 2025 didn't look great a few weeks ago, and now they look delicious. That is per Darren. Andre's got 5K shares at $2.71. Jeff is saying all the comp is stock. The salaries are literally $600K with $600K bonus. So that's what I'm saying. Like, I want the executives that are running the direction of the company to get stock compensation, right? A $600,000 salary, like it or not. I mean, I know that's a lot of money, but for a publicly traded company, $600,000 salary, that is not a big salary, and a $600,000 bonus is not a big bonus. Everybody can argue that, and you may say, well, the company's not making money, but I mean, if you want to recruit and retain high quality talent in management, you got to pay them something. And yes, they do get paid a lot of non-cash compensation past that in the way of stocks and options. So you know what? If they get rich, then we get rich. That's how I look at it. But everybody's got a different opinion, and I know there's some super passionate people that strenuously disagree with me on that one. Barry said the full moon again. To be fair, the market could have tanked a lot more with the news. We will be back over 22K in 24 hours. So I hope you're right, Barry. This wasn't exactly a plummet, but where'd the market close? So we're down. Yeah, we're down 1.7% in the last couple hours. So that's a little bit of a move to the downside. Is that right? This is from the high to the low, to be fair, and we were kind of within this range a lot of the day. But yeah, we're down 1.5%. So let's see if we can level out here. We're at around 21.7. It seems like we've been hanging out there. Let's see if the next move is up or if we're going to go down and test this line at 21.5-ish. We'll see what happens, but I hope that you are right, Barry. If we're back over 22K within the next 24 hours, then all's well that ends well. And I think that would have been a good thing. Tim is saying the increased stock compensation, it's tied to deployment of exahash, not anything else. And I believe that's true. They have certain thresholds of how many exahash they get up and running. And that's how their non-cash compensation, their stock bonuses, are paid. So I'm okay with that. And I do, obviously you want to see them grow in a smart way. So I've talked in all my videos about the fact that, they got to watch the market. I would not want to see them run up to 16 exahash if Bitcoin runs down to $15,000, because the only way to do that is to over dilute the company or to take on borrowings that could potentially be disastrous. So yes, common sense has to rule the day, and we need to watch management and make sure that they're adhering to that. But to me, everything they've done so far, I'm totally fine with. The dilution has been extremely accretive. So, you know, if people don't feel that way, then I don't know what to say. Then I guess don't invest in Cleanspark. Let's see, I'm catching up. Cleanspark, well, I do stock in my Roth and options in my main account. That makes sense. Can you do any better? Said, only if it works out, not before. That must be in response to a question that I missed. And George is saying, thank God XRP is doing good to the moon. JD is saying they get paid more as the price goes down. So I think you're talking about, I think we're still talking about Cleanspark. So, I mean, as the exahash goes up, they get paid more. It turns out at the moment, the price is going down. So the question is, do you believe, you know, what's your long-term conviction in their business model? Right? Because if their business model is going to work, if they're going to be a top 3 or 4 Bitcoin miner, and they have absolutely solidified themselves operationally as, you know, a top 3 or 4 Bitcoin miner. Their goal was to be a top 5 Bitcoin mining company, and at the time they were nowhere near that when they stated that objective. They are now soundly in that spot, and operationally they performed outstanding. So yeah, we're gonna have to wait and see. It'd be nice to see them turn the corner. It would be nice to see Bitcoin turn the corner and see all these companies start to actually make some money. And, you know, then maybe the shares will go. If the shares were on the rise, I think nobody would be complaining. But obviously, as an investor, that's what we care about. What's the share price, you know, and how are we doing on our investment? So far, this has been, you know, a rough stretch. Other than January of 2023, where things went bananas. So some of these stocks were up 300 or 400% just in the month of January. So depending on which Bitcoin miner you're in, you already got a 3 or 4 or 5x just in January. Now we've pulled back a little bit from there. Cleanspark did not participate in that. So they were lagging most of their peers. So, you know, that's probably a source of frustration for a lot of people. But these are going to happen at different times. Every one of these companies has a bit of a different business model. They're taking a different level of risk. I think some of these companies are now starting to be too conservative. Right? We did go through a long crypto winter. Those people that made the right decisions stayed away from debt. You know, they didn't have to gut their business, which a bunch of these companies did have to do. So, and they didn't go out of business, but they had to rearrange their business in ways that were, you know, that were not highly detrimental to their overall, you know, business plan. They had to scrap their old plans and make a new one. And the only thing they can say about their new plan is that it's better than going out of business. Having said that, at some point, you've got to switch gears. They're practically giving away Bitcoin mining machines now. Right, when they were charging their all-time maximum high price, people were lining up and ordering them a year in advance, paying whatever it took. Now, they can't give these things away. So I think Cleanspark has done the smart thing. They have been buying machines. They bought more machines than anybody over the last year. Most of these Bitcoin mining companies have not issued a purchase order in a year. They have not bought anything on the spot market as far as Bitcoin machines in a year. So it's been a lot of them were forced into that position. Some of them could have been a little more aggressive. They've chosen to stay the course and wait it out. And so I'm okay with that too. But you know what? Cleanspark took a little bit more of a risk. A lot of people might think that's just management being greedy, trying to get that exahash up so that they can get their bonuses. But I think that it's going to pay off in the end. So I guess that's the question. Do you think it's going to pay off in the end, or is this business model going to fail? Michael is saying, I think CNBC is going to have a special tonight at 7 p.m. about markets selling off. I'm going to have to turn CNBC back on. Get exhausted. I try not to listen to those guys anymore. The show is called Last Call, that comes on CNBC at 7 tonight, which will talk about all of the top stories. That is from Michael Anthony. So it looks like Bitcoin took a little bit of a hit from this Silvergate situation. It was hanging on for the first hour. It didn't really move at all. This was like the first hour after the Silvergate news came out, and then this has been the last hour. So we've definitely taken a leg down. This is hot off the presses. So for those of you who joined us late, what we were talking about is Silvergate Capital Corp, stock ticker SI. They are closing Silvergate Bank. So Silvergate Bank's been in the headlines for a long time now. This has been a big, big topic. They are a crypto-friendly bank. They're a crypto-friendly lender, as they're described here. Most of their depositors were crypto or crypto-adjacent. The run on this bank had already occurred. The vast majority of the depositors already left as of the end of December. We're now a couple of months later, and they're calling it quits. But they did say the liquidation plan includes full repayment of all deposits, according to Silvergate. So they're going to close the bank. Everybody's going to get all their money back, and I guess that's that. So, you know, the losers in this are anybody that owns Silvergate stock, which I think is a lot of people, especially since they've had some drastic pullbacks recently that, you know, if they survived, seemed like very potential buying opportunities. So, you know, we'll have to see. And I'm going to have to dig in deeper and see what's left, because Silvergate Bank is closing their doors, but Silvergate Capital Corp, stock ticker SI, will still exist. So I don't know if there's anything left in there after Silvergate Bank. I'm going to have to re-review their financial statements and see what, if anything else, meaningful they do, business they conduct, to see if there's, you know, if this stock, because it didn't crash to zero in after hours. This stock is down. Let me refresh and just make sure. Okay, it's down. I mean, it's down 40% in after hours. So that is significant. And this stock just took like a 30 or 40% hit last week. Down 5% again today, and then 40% after hours. So I don't know what's left. There may be very little left. I'll try to find out. Corty, welcome. Corty said 19.8 is in sight. I think you've been calling for that. Corty, I owned Silvergate in for 1.5 weeks. What a ride. That's like me. I bought Core Scientific the day before they filed Chapter 11. So that was my first purchase of Core Scientific. So that was bad timing. But you win some, you lose some. I mean, so I'll go on a one-day time frame. For me, what we've been talking about on the channel is I do think if this line doesn't hold, and this was an important line in my opinion at 22,000. Now we are temporarily, I'm going to go to the 4 hour. So this is our first 4 hour candle below the line. If we start closing 4 hour candles below this line, then we got to test this line. If we go below this line, then I'm going to be with QWERTY, and I think we go all the way down, you know, down to here. This pink line, or whatever this color is, that was the high in 2017. So that's now 6 years ago. So that was the high from the previous bull market. We did go below that this time in this in this cycle, that's the first time that's ever happened to Bitcoin. We got below the previous high. And I think we could go down and retest that if we can't hold these lines right here. It's only been a couple hours, so I don't want to make any judgments, right? This Silvergate thing does seem to be having some short-term effect. But it's too soon to tell. Not making any calls. On an unrelated matter, they have now priced in, we're now at 80%, the futures showing the market pricing in 50 basis point rate hike 2 weeks. That's 2 weeks from today, I believe. So this was, a month ago, it was a 90% priced in 25 basis point rate hike. So we've had almost a complete reversal up to 50 basis points. So that is going to be one of the giant things that dictates the market. We got the CPI data coming out, and then the week after we've got the Fed doing their rate hike adjustment. So those two things are going to dominate the price action, I think, for the rest of the month, this month. I still think we have a good chance of a 25 basis point. I'm in the minority. Obviously, there's only 20% price priced in of that at this point, but we're going to know a lot better when we get CPI data, I guess is what I would say. So that's one of the big things on the horizon. Let's see. I'm jumping in. I haven't followed on. Agree with which price, George, question mark, but I don't know what you guys are talking about. Sorry. I don't know if you're talking XRP, Bitcoin. George is saying we should do a survey on Bitcoin price and see if people finally are starting to agree with me. So George has been saying Bitcoin is going to start to test. Bitcoin is going to have one more significant retest of lower numbers and potentially even take out the 2022 lows of 15,500. So we can let's do a quick survey. Let me word this a different way. All right, super simple poll. Which one is Bitcoin going to hit first? So no time frame, whether it's a day, a week, a month, 6 months. Are we on our way up to 29,000, or do we now think we're on our way down to 18,000? So this will be interesting. We've done a similar poll for about 3 or 4 weeks now in a row, and the results did change. The last time we did this poll, the results were different. The first 3 times we did the poll, the results were within 1% of the same exact thing. Last time it was a little bit different. We'll see what happens this time. I'm not even going to say, those of you who are here probably remember what it was, but I don't want to bias anybody. Gorilla says, I love polls. I forgot to do any polls today. I know. We should always have a poll going. I had some in mind, but I blew it. Brent is saying by year end, I would give it 50-50. 50-50 to get to 29 or to get to... QWERTY 19.8 to 29 within the month would be nice. So you're still feeling that 19.8. I know that's been your target, your short-term target. but then you think we're going to turn around and go to 29. Is that what I'm hearing? Is that what I'm interpreting? Ty said most people will be wrong, just like the last 2 times. Sometimes that's the point of a poll. You go see what everybody thinks and you go do the opposite. $18K only because it is half as far. Yeah, I mean 18K is it's a lot closer to 18K than it is to 29. I mean, at one point we were at 25K, so it was closer to 29 when we started doing this poll 3 or 4 weeks ago. Now it is much, much closer to 18K. So anybody who has not, if you could smash the like button, I would appreciate it. It helps the live stream. It's supposed to be showing you a smash the like button sign, but there we go. We got 64 likes. I appreciate it. I'm not even shooting for. We've got a streak going of 100 likes per live stream, but this was an impromptu live stream with no notice to the world, so I don't know that we'll get there, but it does help get more people on the live stream, so I appreciate it. Oh, so Brent's saying 50-50 to get to 15K by the end of the year. So you think there's about a 50-50 chance we're going to revisit. That was really about the lows of 2022, 15.5, I think. And that took out the previous low. We flash crashed down into the 17.5 area in June of 2022. And that held the rest of the year until I think it was November 7th and 8th or 8th and 9th that the FTX situation unfolded and we had a big, huge move to the downside. It happened very quickly in a couple of days, and then we stayed there for 2 full months. If you guys remember, we went, I'm going to go to the chart. We went sideways for 2 full months. Right, this was FTX day 1, day 2. I mean, we got all the way down to, let's see, the low was 15,512 according to this chart. And then, you know, I have this blue line here at around $16,875. Really, this is 2 months from here until we took off and broke out here. That was 2 full months of trading absolutely sideways. And then we had a nice leg up. And now we're going to see where we go. I'm not sure what's forming here. I felt a lot better back up here over 22,000 2 hours ago. So the last couple hours, we're breaking to the downside. And this could most likely be action regarding... So you can see I just added the volume back. We're having some decent volume on all this push down here. This is probably Silvergate related, although, I mean, the way I read that Silvergate situation, I don't think anybody's getting hurt too bad. Obviously, the shareholders are getting pummeled, but other than that, it seems like, you know, this is... The crypto world is going to be left intact, even though Silvergate is undoing what they're doing. Gorilla is saying, I think SI is the last domino to fall and is necessary for Bitcoin to become healthy. The contagion from FTX seems to have reached its end. Unless a company like Galaxy is next, we are near a bottom. Michael Anthony saying, check out stock ticker JOB. I'll check that out. George, I don't know what George is talking about. You guys can interpret that. Brent said, never lose sight of your dreams. Sound advice. And we have, I'm not even going to say it because it's going to turn red. And it did. We had a little tiny little green candle going, but back to red. All right, we got 34 votes. Anybody who wants to vote, you can vote which will Bitcoin hit first, 29,000 or 18,000? That is our current poll. I'll leave that open for just a couple more minutes and we'll see what people think. So if you're on a device where you can vote, cast your vote. It's free. So we talked about, for those of you who missed it, we did talk about Marathon went through and paid off. They were involved with Silvergate. They had a loan. They had a term loan. They also had a line of credit. All in, I think it was $100 million. They paid it all off. As of today, on March 8th, 2023, the term loan prepayment was completed, and the company's facilities with Silvergate Bank were terminated. So this is a press release that came out at 5:16. So I don't know if this was 5 minutes before we started the live stream, or I can't remember when we started the live stream, but like, this is hot off the presses. Marathon is just letting everybody know. I think they wanted to get out there and let everybody know, hey, whatever's going on at Silvergate, you know, we're already out of there, so it's not affecting us. Don't go selling our stock off. And this actually is very good. I've been talking about this on the last 3 monthly updates in a row, that I wanted to see them get rid of this. This was like my #1 thing I wanted to see go away. It looks like now all of their Bitcoin is now unrestricted. They were in a position 90 days ago where they were getting very close to having all of their Bitcoin restricted by this line of credit as collateral. So that was not good. You didn't want to start liquidating their stack in order to, you know, because this loan existed. But it didn't get to that. However, subsequently, they have decided they are going to start selling Bitcoin. So they did sell 1,500 Bitcoin in January. They sold, I think, 600 or 700 in February. Up until that time, so all of 2021 and all of 2022, Marathon held every single Bitcoin that they mined. In addition to that, early in 2021, I believe, they bought like 4,500 Bitcoin, which they were still holding. So they had not sold. They just started selling. And I think that's going to be their strategy in 2023, is some hybrid of holding some and selling some, which it seems like everybody has moved to. And the vast majority of these companies have moved to selling all of it every month. That's the new norm. So like it or not, and I know there's some people that do not like that at all and don't even consider a company a Bitcoin miner if they sell their Bitcoin. We did a poll on that, and it was surprisingly close to 50-50. But the truth now is that all the Bitcoin miners are selling either almost all of their Bitcoin or all of their Bitcoin. Even Hut 8, which has hodled for years. Now, that's probably a temporary situation with Hut 8, I believe. Once this merger either goes through or does not go through, I think they will switch back to hodling their Bitcoin. But in the interim period, while this is out there, they're selling all the Bitcoin that they mine every month. So it's pretty much everybody. I don't believe there's anybody that's hodling. I think actually Hive Blockchain is probably hodling more than most, and they have a decent stack, but much smaller. There's really only 3 people left with a stack of Bitcoin at all: Marathon, Hut 8, and Riot. Riot has about 7,000, then it drops off drastically. The next closest is less than half that. So there's only 3 people left holding Bitcoin as far as the Bitcoin miners go. Obviously, there's other companies that hold Bitcoin. All right, I'm going to wrap up the poll. I think I'm going to wrap things up. We had a dramatic shift in this poll. So this is our 4th or 5th time we've done this poll. Every single time prior to this, 29K won. The first 3 times it won in a landslide at either 74 or 75%. Last time it moved to 60-40. This time now 68% of the people have switched, and they think 18K is our next stop. So 69%. So we'll see. I'll give it another minute. This is getting very close to 70-30 that we're moving to the downside. So if George is still there, we can hear from George. He's probably feeling vindicated. He was talking about Bitcoin going down, and he was getting ridiculed. So I think, but it looks like people have joined, have moved over. I'm still saying 29K. I don't get to vote because I made the poll, so for some reason that's how it works. But if I could vote, I would have voted 29K. Thanks, JD. I appreciate it. And thanks, everybody, for showing up. Oh, we did get to 70-30. I'm ending the poll right on that. That's a good official end to the poll. So the majority think we're now going to 18K. So we'll see what happens. Thank you, everybody, for joining me on this unannounced impromptu live stream. But I thought it was worth talking about this Silvergate situation and all the other stuff that was going on. So thanks again to all the members of the channel. If you are not a member, you can hit the join button on the YouTube page and become a member. We have a lot of fun, and we got a lot of great members, and there's a bunch of content ready and waiting for you if you're interested. The Hive interview, Barry is asking, I haven't set a date, so we got to pick a time, but that is happening. So Hive is next, and then Cleanspark interview will be after that. Those are the next two coming up. So thank you, everybody, very much. Everybody have a great night, and we will see you tomorrow. My parting thought, let's just see where Bitcoin is at. Oh, we got two. All right, so around 21.7. So we'll see you tomorrow. We'll see if we held this line here at 21.5. We'll see if we can get back above 22,000. That's my goal for overnight. We'll see what happens. Again, thank you very much.